Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am going to do a full face today, kind of piggybacking off of my favorite makeup discoveries of 2022 video that I recently uploaded. And this is my 2022 most used products. And we have a visitor. Come on. Can you show your little nose for everybody? I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. I'm the only one in the house right now, so he is Mr. Protector, my Zeuser, and has to be everywhere I am. Anywho, this is going to be my most worn makeup products. Not my most worn look, because I didn't necessarily wear all these products together, but if I went through every category of makeup and I picked my most worn foundation, my most picked up bronzer, highlight, blush, etc., you get the drift. And then I put a whole look together, I inevitably will like the look, right? Well, we shall see. So I did that, I picked all the categories, and that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna pull my hair back and we are going to get started. My first step is brows, and I always do that off camera, but my two products that I did not waver from really at all, unless I got sent, you know, a brow pencil from another company and used, my Jane Iredale brow pencil and my MAC shadow in Omega. These are the two things that I use on my brows. I use blonde in the pencil. This is the older version. They have since reformulated and repackaged their brow products, and the new ones are great, but I have so many backups of these that I'm still going through them. And definitely these were the two items that I used on my brows all year long. Now, corrector is what I do next, and I just put my Fit Glow Beauty Peach Corrector in my empties video because this is definitely one that I used a lot. I love the formula, I love the color, I love how it performs under any concealer, but I am out of that. So I would say the one that was like a second runner-up, in fact, I went through an entire one of these. This is the Clinique Airbrush Concealer in the shade number 7 Light Honey. So while this is technically a concealer, the shade is peachy and works great as a corrector. And because the formula is so lightweight, it really works well underneath concealers too. Any concealer that I have tried it under, it's worked great. My dark circles have been so bad lately, so bad. I've been getting plenty of sleep. I don't understand what it is, but it seems like nothing I use completely covers up the darkness, but it definitely takes the majority of the shadows away. Now, the most loved discovery of the year is also my concealer step, and that is the Chantecaille Future Skin Gel Foundation used as a concealer. This has been such a game changer for me. If you wanna hear me go on and on and on about it, you can watch that Favorite Discoveries video. But I just take a little bit, I'm in the shade Vanilla, and warm it up between my ring fingers and then tap it out under my eyes. And I like to blend it out with a brush. I don't use a sponge for this because it is not the highest coverage. I really don't need to sheer anything out. And if I use a sponge, the formula with a sponge tends to kind of soak it up too much. So I like to blend it out with a brush. And I have been using my BK Beauty 109 brush to just kind of pat that in. The concealer brush in the Angie Hot and Flashy collection with BK Beauty is also looks great. I don't have it, so I can't speak to that, but this one's worked great. I've said countless times, as I get older, the more I care less about coverage and care more about the wear of a concealer, and this works so good. I have been setting it with my Ilia Soft Focus Fade Into You powder. I've had this since August. I am halfway through with it. I love it, but honestly, any of the powders I have used have worked great. Now, the reason I did my concealer and set it first is because I'm going to be using a powder foundation today. However, I did want to quickly show you the other foundation that I have most definitely used the most as a whole. And foundations are definitely something that I rotate through a lot. I love foundation. It's one of my favorite categories of makeup, and I love trying out new ones. But if I had to pick the one that I went back to the most, the one that I traveled with, other than the one that I'm going to show, it's the Lancome Teint Idole Stick Foundation. I've talked about this a lot this year, so it goes to show how much I loved it. I believe it showed up in 2 of my favorites videos. I used it so much, I did reviews on it. It's fabulous. And then of course the powder that I used with it the most was the purpressed powder that I talked about in my discoveries video. But the foundation that hands down I used the most, I am sure you're gonna be able to guess it, is the Jane Iredale Purpressed foundation. This is So good. This is a brand new compact that I just put in 2 days ago, or brand new pan refill, because this is a refillable compact. I went through 1.5 pans of this year. That shows how much I used it. I have a whole review video on this, so I'm not going to talk a ton about it. I will put it up in a card if you want to go see the best way to apply this, how it works, how I feel like it wears, close-ups, and all of that. But right now I'm just going to apply it with my Jane Iredale Handi Brush. I am in the shade Golden Glow, and it is so incredibly easy. It's also a really good setting powder. I talk about that in my how to apply powders video, which I will also link in a card. It's buildable, it has great coverage, and there just isn't a time where it doesn't work for me and my skin. Now, this could easily turn into a full Jane Iredale video. It is my favorite brand. I do tend to reach for their stuff more than anything else. And the bronzer is no exception. I am going to steer clear of Jane products after the bronzer, but this is my second pan of the So Bronze 1, and you can see I'm almost done with it, that I have gone through this year. Again, just shows how much I reach for it, because it always works. It always looks good. I love the finish. It's like it's a matte finish, but has a little bit of a sheen to it. You can see a little bit of a sheen in the pan, but that doesn't translate as much on the skin other than being just a satin finish. It doesn't just work with Jane Iredale foundations. It works with everything, which is why I pulled it out the most. It is, again, like a little bit more of a neutral shade on me. Pulls maybe a tad warmer than some of my other bronzers, but it's definitely not the warmest I have. And it's not too much. I have a very heavy hand when it comes to bronzer, blush, and highlight. And this is something that goes on very nicely, not too heavy, and always looks good. Again, I could definitely say the Jane Iredale blushes and the Jane Iredale highlight and Allure, which is actually an eyeshadow, were my most used. But I also have ties with those that I'm going to show you, and they are the Chantecaille blushes. I love these so much. I love how small they are and compact. They're great for travel. Definitely not new in my collection, but ones that I reach for a ton. And the two colors that I reach for the most are Laughter, which is coral, and these are part of the philanthropy collection. So every time you buy one of them, a portion of the proceeds goes to some kind of charity. And this one is the coral, like coral reefs. And then this one is Joy, which is the wild horse one. Now, they do have really pretty imprints on them, but I've used them so much you could barely see them anymore. And these are just the two colors that I reach for the most. This is more of a peachy pink, and then this is more of a baby pink. I think I'm gonna go with the coral, because out of the two, it's probably the one I reach for the most. Again, the reason I reach for all of these is because they always look good. I don't ever have a bad makeup day when I wear these products. So if I'm not in like a testing kind of mood or an adventurous kind of mood, and I wanna try new combinations or, you know, newer products and just hope for the best, then these are the kind of products that I reach for, because again, they just always look good. Now I'm gonna use a cream highlight. So now is when I would go in with my Hourglass Radiant Light Powder. This has been a go-to of mine for years and years and years. This is the Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Radiant Light. I get asked about that a lot. This is, I believe, the darkest color. It's not meant to show up on the skin, but they do have different shades. Now, if you are very, very fair, you are not gonna want to get this, because it will probably show up a little more than you hope it to on the skin. I also can use dim light. Luminous light is not one that I would use in this step because it is very luminous. I like to use that as a highlight. It's one of my very favorite bridal highlights of all time, and I've gone through many compacts of that in my kit. This one just gives a little tiny bit of warmth, and I just use it to buff. Again, I go over this in my How I Apply Powders video if you want more detail, but it just really helps blend everything together. I'm not gonna say I use this 100% of the time. Sometimes I don't feel like I need it. Like today, I probably didn't even need it, but I wanted to show you because it really does take all the harsh lines away. It gives like this filtered finish on the face, and it's just something I don't want to be without. So ambient lighting powder in Radiant Light. And then for my highlight, this is not new to me this year, but is definitely tied with the Jane Iredale Allure, especially if I wanted something a little more glossy looking on the skin, but still very skin-light because there's absolutely no discernible glitter or sparkle in this. It just gives off the most natural sheen. And it is the Merit Highlighting Balm or Stick Balm. I'm not quite sure the actual name because my label's covering it in Kava. I've talked about this a lot. It is a frequent product that shows up in my videos, getting ready with me's, favorites, favorite highlight. And I just take a little bit on those two fingers and then just lightly tap it into the high points of my cheek. And you see how pretty that is? I tend to come down a little bit farther with cream shadows, not necessarily on purpose, but it works out. Just gives this really pretty dewy glow to the cheeks. I also have Bounce, which is like the rose gold shade, and that works on me. They came out with an even different shade this year. I don't have that one, but Bounce and Kava are both so gorgeous. Now let's move on to eyes. And there were some things where I was like, no questions asked. I didn't even have to come look at my collection to know that the Purpressed was gonna be my foundation pick. For eyeshadow, I did feel like I needed to come in and kind of think about it a little bit, but then I opened my drawer and I was like, yeah, I don't need to think about it. Because when I did not want to invest a lot of time into thinking what I was gonna wear on a certain day, when I was in a hurry, when I was traveling, I would always pull for the same palette. And it is my Fit Glow Beauty Singles, always. I use these in a lot of videos where I didn't necessarily get ready, but I was, always link my products in the description box. And I got a lot of compliments on my eye looks when I use these. And it's the simplest eye look ever. I don't deviate really when I pull this palette out. And it's always some kind of crease shade, some kind of lid shade, and an eyeliner, and that's it. And that's what I'm gonna do today. And these are blush and face and eye powders, okay? But I am going to choose Sunkissed, which is probably my most used out of all of them. It's a very neutral, leaning a little bit warm shade. And I'm just going to put that in the crease. These are also great because like Fit Glow sells a little palette that holds 4 of these, which I also have. So when I do travel, I can easily pop 4 of these out and I can use them for eyeshadow, blush, and highlight and not have to pack, multiple things. Really pretty, really easy to blend out. Now I typically would go into Golden Hour if I was traveling because this is what I would use for my highlight as well. But I have this one, which is newer. It's not new, but it's one of the newer ones that I have put in the palette. And this is called Rose. And this is really pretty. It actually lends a little more peachy on my eyes than rosy, but nonetheless, it's very pretty. It's not as shimmery as Golden Hour, but it's still such a pretty sheen on the lid. And these two colors look really good together. And even though I'm using a brush, I typically just will kind of stamp it on with my finger. So this one lately has been my favorite lid color. I haven't tried it as highlight, but I'm sure it would work. And then I take Mulberry Brown, which is this dark brown shade, and my favorite eyeliner brush, Rephr 29, which y'all, after I filmed the Discoveries video, I thought I lost this. And you would have thought I lost my entire makeup collection. I was tearing this room upside down trying to find this brush and it was way in this little container hidden away the entire time. But that's how much I love it. And if you could tell just by watching how easily I did my eyeliner, that's why. Because it just makes shadow liner absolutely foolproof. And then finally, I just go back in with that same Sunkissed color or whatever color I chose to use in the crease and buff that under the eyes. I'm not gonna do mascara on camera, but probably my most used was my Chantecaille Longest Lashed Faux Seals. And I forgot to talk about this in my favorite Discoveries video. And so I think I'm actually gonna use it today so y'all can see it. But this is the L'Oreal Voluminous Original, which is not new to me. However, the burgundy shade is. And I love the burgundy shade. honestly doesn't look that burgundy when you put it on the eyes, but somehow it makes my blue eyes pop even more because the shades do interact well together. And I just really, really like it. So I think I'm going to use this one today off camera, and then I'll come back to finish off with lips. Mascara on, all we have left to do is lips. And hands down, my most reach for lip product is either the Lip Chic or the Lip Veil from Chantecaille, which I talked about the specific color I'm going to use today in my discoveries video, but the actual formula and product is not new to me this year. I love the Lip Chics in particular. Jasmine from the Giraffe collection is a really pretty peachy nude. I love Clover from the Butterfly collection, which was actually last year, but still so pretty. The Lip Veil in Honey Pot, which is part of their permanent line, is also one that I reach for a lot. And yes, these are all nude. They have various colors if you're wanting something darker or brighter. But Yarrow from the Cougar collection, which as of the time of me filming this is still available, is one that I have reached for so much since it launched. And I know it just launched in September, but I have used a ton of this. And the reason I reach for these so much is because it's a 3-in-1 product to me. It's a lipstick, it's a gloss, and it's a balm. They're very moisturizing. They're not sticky. They leave a sheen to where I do not feel the need to put a gloss on top. I sometimes do, but it's definitely not something that I feel like I need to do, and I am a gloss person. I like the feel of a gloss. I like the finish of a gloss. So to have something that I can reach for, put on, and not have to worry about doing any extra steps is why I reach for those so much. That's it. That is the finished look of products that I reached for all the time, over and over and over again, despite the fact that I have so much to choose from in my collection. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comment section what your most reach for product was in 2022. I will have everything listed and linked in the description box per usual. Thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.